Welcome back to the channel. We're back out in the garage again, episode 2 of weight reduction on the Miata. If you hadn't noticed, it's pretty chilly out here. You can see my breath, it's cold. But we're gonna try and get a little bit done on the back side of the Miata today. First, we're gonna start off by probably pulling out the carpet. That is really easy to do. I think it's just rested in here, maybe 1 or 2 spots of glue. We're also gonna go underneath the car. There's an exhaust shield where the old suitcase muffler used to be. It is no longer under there. We're gonna take that exhaust shield out. I believe it's just 4 bolts under there, and that should be a couple of pounds of a piece of steel that just really doesn't do anything anymore. Then we're gonna attempt to break out the sound deadening at the bottom of the trunk. It's only about like a 2 foot by 1.5 foot square of sound deadening. It is nice and cold out here, so we're gonna see if it'll break apart without having to use any dry ice. If we can't get it to break apart, we're just gonna use the heat gun I have and try and heat it up and scrape it out of there. The scissor jack used to sit here, and the tire iron that came along with it was up on there. We're gonna try and get these 2 tabs out of here, maybe. That's spot welded. It's not a very good spot to get either a grinder or like a Sawzall or anything like that down in there to get that broke loose. So we'll see if we'll be able to get that out of there. If we can't, it's not the biggest deal. That one I think we should be able to get out of there. It's just a small tab. It won't weigh very much, but it's not necessary to have in there anymore. We're also gonna probably take out this little bracket here that kind of supports the antenna. That's not really needed. It's secured into the actual body of the car. And I don't use the radio anyways in the car when I'm driving. I have a cassette player in there, but I might not even use that. The entire glove box is full of cassette tapes, which also is unnecessary weight in the car. So I'm probably just gonna remove all of that. Lastly, there's one other little tab right here. I have no idea what that tab is for. It's not necessary. I don't even know what it's for. We're just gonna lop that off real quick. I'm gonna try not to use a grinder anywhere in here. This is the inlet for the fuel tank where you fill your gas tank. I don't wanna throw sparks anywhere in here. There's no leaks, but I don't want to have any risk of explosion or fire or anything like that. We want it to be safe and get as much off of this car as we can without causing any big damage. So let's go ahead and try and pull out this carpet really fast. I don't think there's any fasteners or anything up in the front section. There's just 3 plastic push pins on the back that help hold the back piece of carpet in. So we're gonna try and just pop those out. If they break, not that big of a deal, because we're gonna pull out this back piece of carpet anyways. They're really cheap to replace, and these are all really brittle. They came out fairly easy. And there's that back piece. It's pretty dirty back here, so we'll maybe try and come in here with, ooh, that's dusty. We'll come in here with a rag and wipe this down as well. I'll try and pull this bottom section out. Yeah. Kind of fold in here and pull off nasty carpet looking stuff. That's maybe not even a full pound, but then we get down to where the sound deadening is. This is what we're gonna try and scrape out. It's not very convenient because there's a lot of ridges on the bottom, but we should be able to get this out. And you can kind of hear, this is just a big piece of metal that doesn't really do a whole lot. All right, so what we're looking at doing right now is just popping out these 4 10mm bolts that hold in this little piece of exhaust shield. It's not needed down here, so we're gonna pull it out. The pipe doesn't even go up next to it. It hangs pretty low now, so I'm not concerned with this getting any heat transferring into the trunk, which there's nothing in the trunk anyways. We got the exhaust shield out. It's not real thick material, but I mean, that's probably at least a pound right there. We'll add that to the pile and weigh that later. So kind of what I was saying before with getting the sound deadening out, typically you'd use like a dry ice to get it really brittle and you can hammer it and break it out. I don't have dry ice right now. I can run into town and grab some, but I want to try and get this out without having to do that. I'm going to take a razor blade and try and score this so I can break out pieces and sections of this without trying to peel all of it at once. I don't think it'll all come at one time, so we're just going to try and score it, see what happens. I grab my razor blade and it takes a lot of pressure on this to try and cut through this big chunk of glue basically. Now that we have it all scored into different sections, we'll try and take a chisel with a hammer and try and bust it out. It's probably gonna make a mess everywhere, but it is what it is. We'll shop back it out later. So let's see how difficult this is gonna come out of here. I don't even really know where to start, so we'll just pick a point and start going at it. There is still a little bit of sound deadening right on the backside here, but let's get some of this stuff pulled out of here. Even if we just push it through these couple of holes that were plugged, we'll get this all out of here so it's not just bouncing everywhere. Like it flew everywhere. I didn't expect it to work that easy, but hey, instead of going and buying dry ice, just take your car somewhere that's 0 degrees outside. Now that the sound deadening is out of the trunk, it just makes me want to take the rest of the sound deadening out of the car when it's this cold out, because that was easy. Like, just look at that. It broke out in just tons of little pieces, and it brushed out those holes almost perfectly. I couldn't have asked for a better way of taking out that sound deadening out of the car. So now that we have this open, there's already 2 holes here that are for potential like draining if there is moisture and water in here. The glue broke out when I slammed it with a hammer. So I'm gonna leave those 2 out, then I don't have to drill these holes. We're just gonna add some holes here. So there's a bolt hole here and a bolt hole right here. That's from the exhaust shield. We're just gonna drill right through those and make 2 more holes right here. Then we're gonna add maybe another hole in the corner here, up here, and maybe some small ones in the back corners as well. And then maybe 1 or 2 more randomly throughout here. So I'll just pop some holes real quick and see what happens. There's nothing underneath here that's gonna get affected by drilling holes through it. There's no subframe right underneath here. There's no wiring harness or fuel tank or anything. So we're just gonna ram some holes in here and see what it looks like. All right, so drilling these holes out isn't going as easy as I thought it might. With these ridges, it makes it really difficult. The teeth bite the edge and catch and twist on you a little bit. And it's actually probably causing more damage and harm than good to my drill. So I don't want to damage my drill by doing that. So I might just grab my saw, and I'm actually considering just cutting the whole floor out altogether. Basically where it's this like darker green color and the white, there's a nice line I can just cut right on and cut the whole floor out. At the same time, I like having a little bit of a floor there to be able to hold maybe like my toolbox, or I put lawn chairs in here when we take stuff to the track, but I don't necessarily need it. I can always put stuff in the back of the truck, in the front of the trailer, etc. So I might just cut this out. Before we go ahead and cut out the floor, I will, however, take a smaller bit and drill 4 holes, I think, just right back here. So if any smoke comes up, it has somewhere to evacuate. This is just the back of the trunk. There's nothing behind there as well to cause any damage with a drill bit going through. And this is a nice flat area right here, so the bit shouldn't bite funny, and it should be able to drill out fairly easy. So we got a few of the holes in the back drilled out. My batteries are dead, so I gotta let those charge back up. So we're gonna grab the saw and we're gonna go ahead and cut the floor out while those charge up a little bit. Then we'll come back and finish the last hole. I had 1 hole left. I broke a blade already. I think what happened there, I twisted the blade too much to get around that corner and it was not happy. So we'll take this a little bit easier this time and not put quite so much stress on that to turn it. Some of you might be asking, what's the point of cutting the floor out? Well, I tried to cut holes in it. It didn't really work, so I just cut the rest of it out. So that's even more material that I'm taking out, more weight reduction. I'm not using the trunk. It's not structurally doing anything by cutting that out. So why not? Drop a comment down below if you've done something like this in your car, or if you've thought about it and just haven't done it yet. All right, so we got the sound deadening out, carpets out, the exhaust shield underneath is out of there, and I cut the floor out. So now it's just a big open hole. There's quite a bit of material that came out of that. So it's a big pile of steel right there, and then carpet and other miscellaneous junk that came out. So now that we have the floor, the exhaust shield, the sound deadening, and the carpet stuff out of the back of the car, there's just some cleanup to do, and then we might tackle this a little bit later. I'm gonna come back out tomorrow. It's getting a little chilly, got some stuff to take care of. We'll be back tomorrow to continue the project. And we're back. Day 2, episode 2 of Miata weight reduction. We'll go ahead and lop this little tab off. I have no idea what it's for. Nothing has been here on this little tab the entire time I've owned this vehicle. So what is the purpose of keeping it in here? There we have it. Really little piece, no big deal. I'll take that 10mm bolt off and set it in my tray. There's all kinds of stuff on this car that uses 10mm bolts, so I'll save that. All right, so we have that sharp edge ground down, cleaned up real good. There's still enough room here. If I ever want to put something back in here, I can lay it right back over. I may end up laying down like a piece of Lexan or plexiglass or something like that and pop some holes in it so it still breathes, but then I can still store stuff in here if I need to. You can tell it's pretty chilly out here again today. But that's all situated. I'm not gonna try and take these off. That's gonna be too hard to get in there. I removed the wire from the trunk light so it's out of the way. I'm gonna cut basically straight off right here, straight off up here, maybe try and notch this a little more, cut this bottom section here, and kind of up right in here and get these two pieces out of the trunk lid. That'll get a little bit of steel off the trunk lid. So a little extra precaution just for around where the filler neck is and stuff for the fuel tank. I took the exhaust shield that was underneath here and I just flipped it over and set it on that because there might be some sparks that will come down this direction from the trunk lid. So then at least that'll kind of be blocked so it won't shoot sparks that direction. There we go. We got those two braces out. Now I'll just have to kind of hammer that flat. So now we got you guys down in the fender well. What we're gonna do here is the subframe portion that we're not gonna cut into is up here. We're gonna cut basically right below that, straight out and around to about right here. And then we're gonna stop and we're gonna come back up from about right here at an angle or maybe a little bit of a curve up to that point. There's nothing back here on the back side of this sheet that's gonna have any issues, so we're just gonna lop that off. As long as we keep some of it there to be able to support the actual like bumper, it should be fine. So we're just gonna cut straight up right here and then lop that chunk off. All right, I got this kind of brushed out, so let's go ahead and make the first cut. Gonna look at the blade a little bit. It should still be pretty good to make this cut. So we're just gonna come in straight like this. The blade shouldn't hopefully hit back there, otherwise I'll have to hold it out a little bit. But we're just gonna kind of go straight in and around like that, and then straight up this way. So I'll give it a shot. There we go. Now I just gotta come up and cut this little tab off that I had to bend. And that's all pretty structural, it's stiff there. And then this little piece still holds it in place how much I need it. Cut off this little tab on the bottom and then kind of clean up this edge as well. All right, so this is something I didn't realize. It must have happened from like one of these side hits, but this bracket that I did not cut on the other side that holds this fender, or not the fender, but the bumper in place, is all bent up right here. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with this. I'm gonna probably take this plastic guard off and see if I can get that bent back into place. All right, so I got it kind of bent back in place. I don't think this plastic piece is gonna go back in here because the tabs are all pretty whack. So that's not gonna go back in, but I'm gonna leave a little strip of this in here so it still holds the bottom of the bumper, and that should be fine because there's still gonna be stuff flying through. So we're just gonna go kind of where I did before and cut up right inside here just to leave a strip of this to hold the bottom side of the bumper, and it should be good to go. All right, the batteries for the drill has been charging for probably a good hour. So I think they should be all right enough to be able to get a couple of holes drilled into the trunk lid here. So rather than putting you guys into a time lapse of drilling all these holes, I'm just gonna get that done real quick and show you guys the finished product. All right, so that's what we're gonna do to wrap up the holes in the trunk lid. I decided against going up here. We just did a bunch of holes down on this bottom section. That should be just fine for now. It's really thin material, so that's not gonna make much of a difference. But the main weight savings is gonna be in the floor right here, and then the little bit of brackets that did come out and the shielding underneath. So that's gonna wrap up taking out stuff from here. I already shot vac everything, so all the metal shavings are out of there. There's still a bunch on the ground, but that's not a big deal. I'll clean that up later. So that's gonna about wrap it up for taking stuff out. Now we're just gotta wait and then get that on the whiteboard. All right, so we're gonna grab all of the stuff, the carpet, the scrap steel, all the sound deadening, step on the scale, get a total weight, subtract my weight from that, and I'll let you guys know what it's gonna be. Drop a comment down below how much you think we stripped out of the trunk of the car with all the scrap material. So I weighed myself with all my gear. It's at 170, just so we have a zero out point. Let's not drop all this stuff. Got 178, so we got 8 pounds of junk that came off the car. 8 pounds is a win for me. Doesn't seem like a whole lot, but in the grand scheme of weight reduction on the Miata, 8 pounds added to the 42 pounds of the soft top, that gets a total of 50 pounds as of right now, and that's just the back third of the car. We still have sound deadening to do underneath the carpet where the driver and passenger seat are. Plus, if we take all the carpet out of that as well, I maybe end up spraying underneath like black, just so we can take the carpet out and you don't see all the ishy paint underneath. Plus, we have stuff in the dash that we gotta take out. We have the AC box that's behind the dash. Plus, we have like the cassette that can come out, the cassette tapes in the glove box, and some other miscellaneous pieces that can come out from the inside. Then we get to move to the front third of the car where the front fenders are. I know I might have to trim some of those. There's a wrinkle on one side, and then stuff in the front bumper as well. There's some steel that can come out of there, and also with the front hood as well. All right, so we'll get the weight scribbled onto here for the trunk metal and etc., because it is not just the metal, it is sound deadening and carpet as well. So 8 pounds for a total of 50 pounds so far. For a total of 50 pounds so far out of the car That's a pretty decent weight saving so far. If you like this video, don't forget to leave a like. Also, let me know if you think stripping all this weight off the car is actually worth it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.